Welcome back, it's me, Lou. Today is another action figure review, and we are featuring my Marvel Legends Modern Era Cable. Okay, so Hasbro has given us a couple of Marvel Legends Cable figures already. The two big ones that come to mind, there was the Ed McGuinness inspired AVX Cable, and that one looks kind of like a cog from the video game Gears of War. And then I think there was also the post Extinction Agenda Cable with the giant shoulder pads, and that's kind of more reminiscent of Cable's appearance in the X-Force comic books. The one illustrated by Rob Liefeld. And I don't want to forget the other Cable figure. It was based off of the live action Cable, played by actor Josh Brolin. That came out maybe like, I want to say maybe like a year or two ago. But what we have here is my modern era Marvel Legends Cable. It's kind of an amalgamation of the different Cables throughout maybe the last, I don't know, 15 to 20 years. He kind of retains more so the X-Men color scheme of the blue and gold, much when he was a part of the actual X-Men team, not necessarily X-Factor. Although there is some callbacks to some, like, some of his previous X-Force uniforms. So, looking at this figure, excuse me, this figure stands in at about, let me get a ruler here. This one comes in at a little over 7.5 inches tall. Proportion-wise, he's kind of in line with what you expect Cable to look like, especially his early appearances in the comic books. Like, if you ever read any of Rob Liefeld's early New Mutants or X-Force books, Cable was kind of this gigantic colossus of a being. It wasn't until much later that it kind of like, brought his size down to more like realistic proportions. Alright, so the sculpting on this guy, his head, he kind of has the techno-organic virus head, which is kind of reminiscent of almost like Arnold Schwarzenegger's T2, where half of the face is kind of like that exposed endoskeleton. So as you can see there, let me get this on my camera. Half of his face is kind of covered by the techno-organic virus. And then he has his trademark scars over his other side of his face. And what would Cable be without having some sort of vest and lots of pouches? As you can see here, he has pouches on his upper thighs. He has pouches along his belt. He has a harness that goes across his chest, down his torso, and has the trademark X dead center. You can see his rifle mounted on his back. Cable's also known to have that asymmetrical arm, so he has the robotic arm on his left side, as you can see here. This is the arm that's infected by the techno-organic virus, and Cable's constantly using his telekinesis to keep the virus in check. And over here is his human side arm. He has his knee pads, lots of straps like Cable has. On the side, we have his sheath and his knife. On the back, his rifle is plugged into his vest. As you can see here, very clean look. He has a trigger finger on his right hand, as you can see there. His left hand on his cybernetic arm has a fist, but it also includes an additional trigger finger. So you can swap this out if you want to throw his gun on his other hand, or if you want him to dual wield. Here's his rifle. Articulation-wise, Cable's head rotates left, right. He could look down about this much. So he could count his toes. He could look up pretty high. He has a ab crunch right here. You can see underneath the straps. The nice thing is that his harness here is actually cut in the middle, so when he arches back, the strap doesn't pull up on the belt. The only unfortunate thing is that it would have been nice if there was brown paint painted underneath on his abdomen, so it wouldn't break that illusion. His arms rotate. He has a bicep cut. Unfortunately, he only has single pinned elbows, and the movement isn't that far, but at least it's a clean bicep look. It's like that on both arms. He has a waist swivel. His legs kick up about this far. He has a thigh cut, which allows for, twist his thigh around. He has double pinned knees. So if you want to bend his knees, go ahead, get crazy. Let's see what else is there. Ankle articulation, it's very stock. So yeah, very clean figure. Here's Cable from a front view. Let's get a little bit closer. See if we can get a little bit closer so we can see the sculpting and the detail on his face. Come into focus. Alright, just bear with me while I try to get this in focus. My camera's not cooperating today. There you go. So yeah, one side of his face is covered with a techno-organic virus. The other side's his scar. Nice clean sculpting. The harness is a nice addition. Has multiple pouches. It's kind of reminiscent of his father's strap, albeit this one's brown, not yellow like Cyclops's. Very clean look with the rifle plugged in. Yeah, very solid figure. So this is Cable. It's kind of like I said, this is much more of an amalgamation of his uniforms, probably from like the last, 15 to 20 years. It's not denoting any one specific uniform. It takes a little bit of pieces from here and there. So it's kind of a much more, generic look for Cable. But if you want to get past Cable with the heavy armored shoulder pads, and you want something that looks a little bit more modern, this is the way to go. They recently brought Old Man Cable back in the comic books. They finally got rid of Kid Cable. I was a big fan of Kid Cable. But Old Man Cable's back. He looks just as dusty and dirty as before. But this one, it's like I said, this one's kind of based off of Cable's look from maybe 15 years ago. It's a much cleaner, solid look. It's a little bit more streamlined. Doesn't have the excessive bulkiness of the shoulder pads. Okay, so with that being said, let's close this video out with a quick slideshow displaying modern era Cable.